My name is Celeste Rivera. I'm 28, and for 4 years, I believed I was building a life with the man I'd marry. His name is Nathan. When people asked me about proposals, I used to smile and change the subject. Secretly, I already had little daydreams of what the moment would look like. Nathan dropping to one knee somewhere unexpected, my hands shaking with surprise, both of us laughing because it was always a little messy with him. Nathan had this energy about him, impulsive, dramatic, ambitious to the point of exhaustion. He was chaos in motion, and I was the anchor. At least that's how he described me, his stability. At first I thought it was a compliment. Later I realized it was more like a cage. He was broke most of the time, juggling freelance gigs, trying to figure out if he wanted to be a designer, a photographer, or a musician. He was also still helping his mother with hospital bills. And because I loved him, I stepped in wherever I could. Rent? I usually covered it. His car? When it broke down, I paid the mechanic. When he announced he wanted to go back to school for graphic design, I told him to go for it, and I picked up extra shifts to make sure we wouldn't sink. I told myself this was partnership. Love means sacrifice, right? Still, small cracks began to show. The first was Riley, his ex. Her comments kept popping up on his posts. Playful, flirty, never quite crossing the line into outright disrespect, but hovering close enough to sting. I'd ask about it, and Nathan would roll his eyes. She's just trying to stay friends, Celeste. Don't be possessive. Sometimes her name would light up his phone after midnight. He always claimed he didn't reply. I wanted to believe him. I was raised to give trust until someone proves unworthy of it, and Nathan was quick to lecture me about emotional maturity. According to him, boundaries were just fear in disguise. So I swallowed the unease and told myself, this is what it means to love without insecurity. But the truth? It wasn't insecurity, it was intuition. Another red flag. He never posted me. His Instagram was full of design tips, travel shots, artistic edits, but never me. When I asked, he said tagging me would limit his personal brand. It sounded ridiculous, but I let it go. The real fracture came months later. One evening, I noticed something strange. Nathan's location was off, and his notifications were suddenly muted. His phone never used to be quiet. My chest tightened as suspicion slithered in. I confronted him gently, asking if something was wrong. He sighed, annoyed, and said, I didn't tell you because you always get weird when I bring up Riley. She flew in. We just grabbed coffee. I needed closure. Closure. That word lodged in me like a shard of glass. I tried to argue with myself, tell myself it wasn't worth a fight, that if I made this about trust, I'd lose him to defensiveness, so I swallowed it down again. For a while, things seemed better. The following month, Nathan was sweeter, more affectionate. He started making me breakfast again. Eggs, toast, humming little tunes while flipping pancakes. He asked about my work, curled against me on the couch, traced his fingers absent-mindedly down my arm, like he used to when everything was still new. It felt like we'd turned a corner. I didn't realize it then, but he was softening me up, preparing me for something I never could have imagined. It was one of those deceptively calm Sundays. Sunlight stretched across the kitchen table, catching the edge of my coffee cup. Nathan was at the stove, humming some TikTok audio, under his breath while sliding scrambled eggs onto our plates. For a moment, it felt like we were back to normal, like the sweetness of the past month was proof we'd survived our rough patch. He set the plate down in front of me, sat across with his own, and dug in like everything was fine. Then, between bites of toast, he said it. So, I've been thinking, if you really loved me, you'd let me have one last weekend with Riley, just for closure. He said it casually, like asking me to pick up milk on the way home. I froze, fork suspended in the air. For a second, I thought he was joking, but he kept chewing, eyes on his plate, oblivious. What? I asked, my voice low. I'm serious, he replied, tone calm, like I was the one being dramatic. You always say you trust me, right? Then trust me to handle this like an adult. It's not emotional. It's just unfinished business. Unfinished business. The words scraped against my ribs. He leaned back, folding his arms like he was giving a presentation. I'd come back more grounded, more healed. This is about us, Celeste. About me letting go of the last bit of attachment so I can be fully present with you. My chest tightened, heat rushing to my face. You're not asking for healing, I whispered. You're asking for permission to cheat. He laughed. It's not cheating if I'm honest about it. The room seemed to tilt, sunlight glaring too bright off the window. I couldn't hear the hum of the fridge anymore, just the pounding in my ears. I didn't argue further, What was the point? He'd already twisted the logic into something unrecognizable. I finished my coffee, rinsed my plate, grabbed my keys, and I walked out. He didn't even ask where I was going. I drove with no music, no destination, just the road stretching in front of me, and that sentence echoing in my skull. If you really love me, you'd let me have one last weekend with Riley. It wasn't the act that broke me, it was the manipulation, the way he turned my dignity into a bargaining chip. I ended up at Mariah's apartment, my best friend since college. She opened the door, saw my face, and didn't ask questions, just handed me a blanket and a spare key. Later that night, I whispered the truth. It's not that he wanted her, I said. It's that he wanted me to make it okay, like my love was some kind of permission slip. Mariah's jaw tightened. That's not love, Celeste. That's control dressed up as enlightenment. I buried my face into the pillow, letting the silence answer for me. When I finally checked my phone, the messages had already started. Nathan. Celeste, can we talk about earlier? Nathan. I didn't mean to spring it on you like that. Nathan. I just thought we were past the jealousy phase. Nathan. Let me know when you're ready to have an adult conversation. Not one apology, not even a flicker of self-awareness. By morning, another text lit up my screen. Nathan. So this is how you're going to react? You just leave? I closed my phone, set it face down on the nightstand. No, Nathan, I wasn't leaving. I was preparing to disappear. By Tuesday, my decision was made. If Nathan wanted a weekend of closure with Riley, then I would give him closure he never expected. I wasn't going to scream or beg or stage some dramatic confrontation. No, my revenge would be quieter than that. I started with the lease. One visit to the property office, a signature, and my name vanished from the paperwork. The apartment no longer had any legal tie to me. Next, I went to the bank, froze the joint savings account we'd been building, closed my direct deposit into it, rerouted everything to my personal account. The utilities? I called each one, gave the shutoff date for the end of the month, even the Wi-Fi. By the time Nathan returned from his little healing trip, the comforts he took for granted would be dissolving around him. The last step was his car. I had a spare key, and for months I'd been the one who handled the maintenance payments. I slid the key onto Mariah's kitchen counter, right beside a note. You asked for time with her. This is my time away from you. Let's see what closure really brings. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't cruel, it was just final. That Friday morning, the day Nathan was supposed to leave with Riley, his texts buzzed through again. Nathan, I'm not doing anything wrong. Nathan, I told you the truth. That should count for something. I didn't respond. I slid my phone into a drawer and shut it. For the first time in years, I tasted silence without guilt. That night, Mariah dragged me out for drinks. She made me laugh, really laugh, the kind of laugh that feels rusty, like your body has to relearn how to do it. Meanwhile, Nathan was posting carefully curated snapshots, a suitcase, a wine glass, a caption, letting go of the past, finally. The comments weren't kind. Wait, weren't you in a relationship? This feels messy, dude. Sis deserved better. I watched from a burner account, each comment slicing deeper than any reply I could have written. The court of public opinion was already holding him accountable. When Sunday night rolled around, Riley vanished from his feed. His location wasn't updating. He called me 5 times. I let every call go to voicemail. The messages piled up. I thought you were mature enough to handle this. I gave you honesty. Most girlfriends don't get that. You've always been so dramatic when you don't get your way. Okay, you've made your point. Can we please just talk now? But there was no apology, no ownership, just the same arrogance, softened by desperation. I didn't answer. Nathan thought I'd be waiting on the other side of his closure. He didn't realize I was his closure. By Monday, Nathan was performing for an invisible audience. He lit candles in our old apartment, poured himself a glass of wine, cued soft music, and posted a story with the caption, "Starting fresh. Centered, lighter." He didn't tag me, didn't mention me, but everyone who saw it knew. I had already sent one screenshot to a few close friends. Just one. His exact words over breakfast. If you really loved me, you'd let me have one last weekend with Riley. That was enough. Nobody defended him after that. Nobody asked me to reconsider. They just nodded, stunned silent, and slowly pulled away from him. By Thursday, his stories went dark. Then came the texts. Nathan. Okay, I think I need to explain what really happened. Riley reached out first, not me. She said she wanted closure, and I thought seeing her would help me move on. That's all I meant. Nathan. I didn't even stay the full weekend. I left Saturday night. It didn't feel right. Nathan, can we please just talk? Still no apology, still no ownership, just a careful rewrite of the truth. I stared at the screen, detached. Once I would have clung to these words, desperate to believe them. Now, all I saw was a man drowning, grabbing at anything that would keep him afloat. His calls started next. I declined each one. Then the voicemails came. His voice was different there, less polished, more cracked. You didn't even wait to hear what I had to say. I came back expecting you'd be here. I thought after everything, I at least deserved that. Another. Was it really that easy for you to just forget me? No, I thought. It wasn't easy. But it was necessary. Another. You said you wanted truth, and I gave it to you. And now you're punishing me for it. Why are you being so cruel, Celeste? Cruel. That word stung for half a second, until I remembered the look on his face at breakfast, how he'd laughed when I accused him of asking permission to cheat. No, Nathan, this isn't cruelty, this is consequence. And then, poetic justice. I heard through Mariah, because word always travels, that Riley had ghosted him, completely. No replies. Blocked him within a week of their weekend together. He even tried showing up at one of her events, but she acted like she didn't recognize him. He burned everything for her, and she discarded him like old news. The irony tasted sweet, but the fallout wasn't over. His circle of friends, the ones who used to defend him, who used to laugh at my overreactions, began to fade out. One brunch photo appeared online. Nathan wasn't there. Someone asked in the comments, "Where's Nathan? I thought you guys were tight." The reply was simple. We've got different values now. Translation. Even his friends knew he'd crossed a line. He wasn't inspiring. He was radioactive. That week, his text shifted from defensive to desperate. Nathan, I don't know what you've been telling people, but you're turning everyone against me. Nathan, I made a mistake, okay? I didn't cheat on you. I just made a bad call. Nathan, but it came from a good place. I wanted to be free of her, for you. He attached a photo of us from a trip to Portland, sitting on a rock near a waterfall, my hair damp from the spray. I looked happy. He was holding my hand like it meant something. Once, that photo would have cracked me open. Now, it was just a memory of a girl who hadn't seen it coming. I closed the message without replying. Silence was still my sharpest weapon. Time is a strange healer. 4 months after I walked away from Nathan, my life didn't just recover. It bloomed. I transferred closer to my sister, got a promotion within weeks, fell into a rhythm of early mornings, gym sessions, meals that weren't just stress takeout. It felt like draining poison from my bloodstream. Every day without him was a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. I wasn't chasing revenge anymore. I wasn't even chasing peace. Just distance. And finally, I had it. But distance has a way of folding in on itself. It was Lauren's wedding that brought us back into the same room. She'd been a mutual friend for years, close enough to both of us that she refused to take sides. When her invitation arrived, I almost didn't RSVP. But I felt steady now, solid, strong enough to handle seeing him, if it came to that. And anyway, I wasn't the one who should have been ashamed to show up. The reception hall was warm with golden lights and laughter. I was standing near the bar, talking to someone from Lauren's work circle when I felt it. Eyes on me. I turned slightly. There he was. Nathan. He looked smaller. His posture wasn't the same cocksure stance I remembered. His skin was pale, tired. He still dressed like he had an audience. Sharp blazer, hair styled, but no one was watching. For a second, his hand twitched upward, like he wanted to wave. Then he froze, half smile collapsing. I just nodded once and turned back to my conversation. Later, while I was fixing myself a drink, he finally made his move. Hey, he said softly. I looked up, gave him the kind of polite smile you offer a stranger in passing. Nathan, you look well. He returned a faint smile. Thanks, I wasn't sure you'd come. I almost didn't. Silence stretched. He shifted his weight, glanced at the floor, then back up at me. Could we talk just outside for a minute? I considered saying no, but there was something in his voice, not confidence, not manipulation, just emptiness. So I followed him out to the patio. The night air was cool, strung with fairy lights. Music and laughter floated from inside. Out here, it was just us. Nathan fiddled with the ring on his finger, not an engagement ring, just jewelry, and gave a small, rehearsed laugh. You're probably the last person who wants to hear anything from me, and I get that. I didn't answer. He drew in a breath. But I need to say this. I messed up. I convinced myself that honesty made everything okay, that if I told you the truth, it couldn't hurt you. But the truth is, I was selfish, I was wrong, and I miss you every day. His eyes searched mine, waiting for me to crumble, waiting for softness. But I wasn't the same woman who'd left that kitchen table months ago. The fairy lights hummed faintly above us. Nathan's voice cracked just enough to remind me he was human, but not enough to move me. "Do you remember what you said to me that morning?" I asked. He frowned. "Which morning?" "Eggs and toast. Sunlight through the window. You told me if I really loved you." His jaw tightened. He looked away. "Say it," I pressed. "Do you remember?" He swallowed. "I said if you really loved me, you'd let me have one last weekend with Riley." I nodded slowly. "And I did love you, Nathan. I loved you enough to work extra shifts, to cover rent, to carry your dreams when you couldn't. But I didn't love you enough to let you walk over me." He flinched, eyes darting back to mine. "I didn't sleep with her, if that matters." "It doesn't." My voice was calm, even. "Because you thought the test of my love was giving you permission to betray it." He shook his head, desperation leaking into his tone. "I was confused. I didn't know what I needed." "You needed her," I said quietly. "And now you need me. But the difference is, I don't need you." The words landed heavier than any scream could have. He blinked fast, like he was trying to stop tears. "Do you hate me?" "No." I gave a faint smile. "I just don't think about you much." He opened his mouth, maybe to plead, maybe to bargain, but I didn't give him the chance. "I'm happy now. Not because someone fixed me, but because you broke something in me that needed breaking. For that, I'm grateful. You showed me exactly what I'll never tolerate again." Nathan froze, chest rising and falling too fast, as if my words had punched the air out of him. "I'm not mad, Nathan. I'm not bitter. I'm just done." I turned, walked back inside, and never looked over my shoulder. He didn't follow. Inside, laughter swelled, music spun, and I felt something I hadn't in years. Light, unburdened, whole. Nathan thought I'd be his closure. He didn't realize he was mine.